Howdy. Today we're looking at the Sybaris Incarnon. It is one of the new Incarnon adapters for weapons that came out with the Kome updates, and this one's pretty spicy. I dare say it's the best of the 5 new ones. So let's go ahead and look at it. Now, I have put it on the Sybaris Prime instead of the Dex Sybaris, because you can go with either one. Or technically you could even go with the normal Sybaris, but I don't know why you would do that. Now, of the two, the Dex Sybaris is going to end up giving you higher crits, and the Sybaris Prime is going to give you higher status, but relatively speaking, the stats are so close that I don't think it really matters all that much, and personally, I'd rather have the higher status over the higher crits, so go with whichever one you think looks cooler, I'd honestly say, which is one of the main reasons I went with the Prime version. Now, with the evolutions, the very first evolution makes it so that you can go into the Incarnon form, of course. You have to get headshots to build it up. It changes it to firing from a 2-round burst into a 4-round burst, and all of its shots have forced blast procs. Now, that's very important because it does not have blast on the weapon. It's not in the elemental weighting, it is forced blast procs on every shot. Now, what this means is that regardless of what your status chance, you will always get a blast proc for every single shot that hits, including multi-shots. And it also means that you can put in elements on the weapon to combine with blast that you normally couldn't. Like, you can't use blast with gas or blast with viral, but in this case, you can make that happen. The second evolution, you have 2 options between Well-Rehearsed and Blazing Barrel. Well-Rehearsed gives you 15 base damage, and on consecutive weak point hits, increases the base damage by +5, stacking up to 3 times for another 15 base damage. The other one gives 15 base damage as well, and on firing, you get 5% multi-shot, stacking up to 10 times for 50% multi-shot. I would definitely go with Blazing Barrel. I think it's the better of the 2. Then for the third evolution tree, you can go with Extended Volley for 12 base mag capacity. This is plus 10 base mag capacity on the Dex version of the weapon. Ready Retaliation, so on reload from MD, you get 60% reload speed, or Marksman's Hand to reduce recoil by 60%. I like this because it makes the weapon feel much more stable. And finally, the fourth evolution tree, we have Survivor's Edge for plus 5% base status chance and 5% base crit chance and 10% base status chance. Reaver's Rapture on full burst hit plus 20% damage resets on reload. Or Elemental Dominance, increased base status chance by 8%, effect doubles in Incarnon form, so it would be 16% for the Incarnon form. Now, the first 2 that I said, the Survivor's Edge and Reaver's Rapture, they are the same values on the Dex version, but the Elemental Dominance on the Dex Sybaris is going to be 15% base status chance, effects doubled on Incarnon form. I would definitely suggest going Survivor's Edge, or at least personally, I think it's the most consistent and convenient on the Sybaris Prime version, but if you're going with the Dex Sybaris, you're probably going to want Elemental Dominance. The Incarnon form of the weapon, you can view the stats here, is actually pretty much the same as the normal mode, right? Like, the damage is only slightly higher, has slightly lower crit chance, slightly higher status chance. It's basically just a souped up version of the Sybaris normally, which is quite snazzy. Now, let us go to the simulacrum so that I can show you some builds. Here we are. Now, when it comes to the Dex Sybaris, because of the blast being forced procs on the weapon, you actually have a lot of freedom with how you can build it. A lot of freedom. And there are a lot of different ways that you can make it work and be extremely effective. First, I want to go over the base elements on the weapon, okay? Or not on the weapon, but the base elements of the game, right? So heat, electric, cold, and toxin. Because you can use any of those pretty consistently with this, and it'll do considerable damage. Now, first off, this is going to be the... Where is it? Here's a pure cold build. What makes cold so nice on this weapon is that you do get the extra crit damage given by cold. It's up to 50% extra crit damage, or sorry, 100% when they're fully frozen, which is a pretty nice increase in crit damage that is additive to crit damage mods. And it also means you can go with Primary Frostbite, so you don't have to get kills to build up the stacks for your Arcane. And Primary Frostbite gives you crit damage and multi-shot. And then because we are getting crit damage from our Arcane and we have it on our cold status effects, you can actually forego the Vital Sense crit damage mod on the weapon, which frees up a slot to put in something else if you want something else. It also means you can go for a higher elemental damage amount because Primed Cryo Rounds is a mod for primary weapons. So you can slap this on and get a very chunky amount of damage. We have Galvanized Chamber for multi-shot, Prime Shred for fire rate and punch through. If you don't have Prime Shred, you can either use the normal version of Shred if you do want the punch through still, or instead you can just use Speed Trigger. That's also an acceptable option, or even Vital Acceleration if you want even higher fire rate. We have Rifle Elementalist to maximize the status damage because we're doing lots of blast procs. Critical Delay so that we get extra crit chance, very important. Galvanized Aptitude, which is additive on this weapon because it gives status chance and direct damage, which is always nice. Galvanized Scope, because once this is built up, it will make us be able to get guaranteed orange crits. I believe it should be guaranteed, right? Yeah, it's 320%. Yes. Guaranteed orange crits in the Incarnon form, which is very nice. Rhyme Rounds just for a little bit of extra cold and status chance. And I do actually really like this setup because of how convenient it is to use. You just freeze everything when you shoot it, and you also get to not have to worry about getting kills to build up the weapons stacks. Because when you use other weapons, like with Merciless, and you gotta get all of the kills to build it up, it can be fairly annoying. So now we already have all of our stacks built up, and this group of enemies is going to get absolutely shredded. That's pretty insane, I'd say. That is a lot of damage. And now if we reset them, now we have all of our max stacks go and shoot right down the center of the group of enemies. All the ones on the side got obliterated. And this is just a cold damage build. We have no viral in this. We have no armor strip in this. You can see we have nothing affecting our damage on my Hildren build. This is just the weapon. That's a lot of freaking damage. And you can do that with pretty much any damage type you want, which is kind of insane. So if I come back over here to this one, you can also go Pure Heat, and we have Deadhead here because it's a lot easier to keep up than Merciless. Now with the blast kills that cannot proc headshot kills and heat can't proc headshot kills, there may be times it's a little annoying to get a Deadhead stack going, but most of the time I haven't personally experienced it being that much of an issue. So as long as we get, I say that and then I proceed to get the 2 kills and not get any procs for Deadhead. There we go. See, it's not that big of a deal. And we're not in Incarnon form yet. Now with Heat, it has the very nice added effect of little bits of armor strip, right? Every time the Heat DOT ticks, you get armor strip, which is nice. And it also is a pretty big heat proc on the enemies. So if I shoot this guy right here, look at that. That's some big heat procs. This thing can do really, really big DOT damage with status effects. So if you're doing endurance content with like really thick enemies like Void Cascade with Thrax, this is actually going to be really good for just pulverizing their health bar over time. Now, if you want a little more AoE and something that's a little more consistent to proc the headshot kills, right, for Deadhead, you can also go Pure Electric. That is a very good option because I quite like electric. I don't know. Oh, I was like thermite rounds. I was going to say, what's wrong here? That's what was wrong there. So we can take thermite rounds back off, and then you would definitely want to put Vital Sense on. We didn't have it on just now for that heat setup. That was without Vital Sense. That's pretty crazy because we had no source of crit damage increase. So we slapped that on. Simulate. Actually, I feel like maybe it was there and I just have no brain and didn't realize the mod I just took off. That's possible. You know, let me know in the comments, or I'll see when I watch this video back before I post it. That's going to be a big whoa. So Electric, if you did not know, the DOT from Electric, if you get a headshot when you proc it last and it kills the enemy, can actually count as a headshot kill for any sort of arcanes or anything that would need headshot kills, which is one of the reasons I really like Electric. And then it also gives that extra little bit of AoE because the DOT has a 3 meter AoE every time it ticks. So that on top of the 5 meter AoE from Blast just gives even bigger chonky chonk damage. you can see, still very effective. I'm not going to go through every element. I just want you to get an idea that, like, pretty much anything can work on this. You can also go Toxin. I think it's the worst, honestly, in my experience, of the base elements. It does mean you can go Primary Blight and build it up just like you can do with Frostbite. But unless you're fighting Corpus and you really want to break through their shields without having to destroy them, I don't think Toxin is all that much worth it. Other than that, for mixed combination of elements, I wouldn't really go Radiation unless you want the extra damage on Murmur, but Electric also gets the damage multiplier Murmur, so Radiation doesn't really have any value. Magnetic is nice for shredding Overguard, that can be a good option. Gas is... I don't know, it's in a tough spot here. I'll show the Gas because it does good damage, but at the same time, you max out on status procs decently fast, and I feel like if you are going for gas specifically, there are better weapons for gas damage, but it's not bad. So if you really want to make gas work on the weapon, it's going to work, just like anything else is going to work. And gas, similar to electric DOTs, can also proc headshot kills, which makes building up deadhead stacks much easier. And it also means it can make use of deadhead, because it can get headshots, but it has no innate headshot multiplier. So Deadhead's 30% headshot multiplier can apply to the gas clouds, giving them more damage. I do not have all of my Deadhead stacks up yet, though. Now we almost do. As I proceed to absolutely get none of my Deadhead stacks, even though I was just saying that it's easier with gas. There we go, 2 Deadhead stacks. That should be enough to show the amount of damage it can do. So if we shoot down the center of this group of enemies, you can see the gas is doing very considerable damage. It is very effective. It's just everything else is too, and there's better stuff to slap gas on, especially if you can get something with status duration so the gas clouds last longer. But if you want to use gas, you do you. And the last main one, because yeah, there's the other elements, right? Viral is nice, but you can get viral from a lot of other sources. Nourish is the most popular helmet ability, so there's a good chance you or a teammate has it, so you don't want overkill on viral. Corrosive is nice, for sure, but the weapon already destroys enemies without even needing armor strip. So why go corrosive, especially when similar to viral is armor strip's a very easy thing to get in this game. So I don't really see a point in going with corrosive. So the last one would be, what if you built for blast? What if you just want to go all in on blast procs, so that you have it on both the weapons, elemental weighting, and force procs? Because that is an option, and it is actually quite viable if you just want maximum explosions everywhere. Now, if you're fighting like single target enemies or on the really far high end in endurance runs, I don't think this is going to be as good as going with an electric or a heat setup, or hell, maybe even a cold setup. But this is still going to be very, very viable. We don't even have max deadhead stacks yet. And look at that. Look at all the explosions everywhere. Wow, ignore the fact that I just missed like 5 or 6 bursts in a row on an enemy. It's fine. It just makes me more relatable as a YouTuber, right? I'm also doo-doo at the game. So if you're worried that you suck, then don't worry. I also suck, and I can make this work. Lots of big boomies. Very, very nice. There's not really too much else to the weapon, so let's go ahead and get into mission, and you can see how it performs on the steel path. Big whoa. that's going to do it for the in-mission showcase. I think it's pretty damn strong and absolutely eviscerated that Acolyte like it was nothing. And something that a lot of people compare, I don't think it's fair at all to use the comparison of, oh, but Torrid's better. But in this case, directly comparing it to the Torrid, this is going to have better single target damage a lot of time, I'd say. And it doesn't suffer from problems that beam weapons have. Like, the Torrid has a big problem against Acolytes because beam weapons just suck ass against Acolytes, and you also lack a lot of range. This thing, it's got really no downsides, I'd say. It's got a huge Incarnon mag capacity. It's got a lot of range. You can basically snipe things with it. It's got huge single target damage. It has huge AoE damage. It can pulverize Acolytes. It's a really, really strong weapon. And it also looks cool and is really fun and satisfying to use, so it gets a fat thumbs up from me. Now, just so you can see, the build we were using in the mission was the first build that I had shown, the cold damage build. We had nothing affecting our damage on our Warframe, and we had Prisma Shade as our only companion, and it wasn't priming at all. Literally just here so that I could go invis to get to the hack thing so enemies wouldn't shoot me, which I guess was irrelevant because I'm a Naros, and I never used my melee or my secondary. So that was all without any armor strip. It was all without any viral, any other random status effect priming for CO. It's pretty strong, I'd say. That's gonna do it though. If you liked the video, then maybe leave a like and subscribe, and let me know what you think about the whatever the thumbnail and title ends up being. I'm kind of stuck in a little rough spot, right? I don't want to like do any sort of clickbait or anything. I don't like that, but at the same time, seeing other people do similar stuff but then more all caps on their videos and they get a bunch of views, and I could use that because your boy's broke AF. I don't know. If you have any thoughts about that in general, just let me know. But yeah, that's it, I guess. So adios.